The green China marker rolls out of my hand just as Grant Hollis walks between me and the projector. It leaves a crooked line across Fairview Rehabilitation Center on the laminated rollout map. "Your team reports to Daniel now," Grant says, without even pausing my slides. For a second, all I can hear is the projector fan. 32 customer sites glow on the screen behind him. My name is still at the top of the implementation chart. Celia Ward closes her notebook and raises one hand. Grant turns toward her with the patient smile he uses on people whose objections he believes he has already priced in. She looks past him. "Which one of you approved changing my implementation team without the change control review Mara wrote into our rollout plan?" His smile holds. His face underneath it doesn't. I cap the marker before anyone sees my fingers shake. "That's an internal reporting adjustment," he says. "You announced it in my meeting." Grant glances at me then, and the look is so brief I almost miss the question inside it. "Why aren't you helping me?" Celia waits. She is in her late 50s, silver hair cut bluntly at her jaw, navy jacket folded over the back of her chair. She has spent the morning making notes in narrow, slanted handwriting and asking questions that expose exactly who has visited a loading dock and who has only read about one. Daniel Price sits 2 chairs down from Grant. His legal pad is open to a blank page. "Our service commitments remain unchanged," Grant says. "Daniel will bring additional structure as we scale. Mara will continue to provide operational continuity." Celia's eyes move to me. "Did you know about this?" Grant shifts half an inch, enough to remind me he is still standing between me and my own slide. "I knew Daniel was being added to the account," I say. That is true. It is also not an answer to her question. Celia gives me one slow nod. "Continue your presentation, Mara." Grant stays where he is. I bend, pick up the marker, and return to the wall map. The green slash runs through Fairview like a fault line. "Fairview goes live Monday at 4:30 in the morning," I say. "Their clean dock is here on the east side. Soil return is on the south corridor, which means the exchange carts can't stage where they did during the inventory count." I circle the east dock. The marker squeaks. My voice doesn't. For the next 23 minutes, I walk Celia and 6 of her regional directors through cart par levels, RFID checkpoints, emergency linen exchanges, and the revised route sequence for the northern sites. Grant takes the chair beside Daniel. Twice he tries to answer a question directed at me. "Twice," Celia says. "I'd like Mara's answer." By the time I reach the final slide, my humiliation has changed shape. It is still there, hot and sour below my ribs, but it has edges now, something I can hold without spilling. Celia taps the rollout packet with one finger. "Send me the revised organization chart before close of business." "Of course," Grant says. "And the change control form." He pauses. "If one is required." I just required it. Daniel finally writes something on his legal pad. The meeting breaks for lunch. Chairs scrape back. Celia's regional directors gather around the coffee station, where a silver urn has been producing liquid with the smell and probable legal status of coffee since 7 that morning. I unplug my laptop. Grant comes up beside me. A word. "Give me a minute to pack the equipment." That wasn't a request. I look at him. Grant is good at his job. That fact would make everything easier if it weren't true. He can read a room, recover a failing negotiation, and remember the margin on a service package discussed 6 months earlier. He also wears expensive shoes into laundry plants and then looks personally betrayed when something splashes on them. I slide the laptop into my bag. Now I'm ready. He leads me through the side door into a hallway lined with framed photographs of ward facilities. In every photograph, the building is shot on a clear day from an angle that hides the receiving dock. Grant stops beneath a picture of Fairview. "You made me look uninformed." "I was presenting when you reassigned my team." I expanded Daniel's role. "You said they report to him now." "Because they do." A catering cart rattles around the corner. We step closer to the wall while a woman in a burgundy apron steers trays of sandwiches past us. Grant smiles at her. She smiles back. The second she disappears through the conference room doors, his face resets. "The national partnership request goes out this fall," he says. "If we want to compete, we need to demonstrate that this model can scale beyond one gifted operator carrying it around in her head." I wrote a 180-page implementation manual. That took you 5 months. It covers 32 sites with 6 different dock configurations. And Daniel can turn it into something repeatable. The words land more cleanly than the announcement did. Daniel is going to package my work. Grant is going to call the packaging leadership. "Why today?" I ask. "We've been discussing this transition. You've been telling me Daniel would support reporting. You hear what makes you comfortable?" My phone vibrates inside my bag. Probably someone from the plant asking whether a missing scan is a tag failure or a cart that never left the truck. My body responds before my mind does. I reach toward the zipper. Grant notices. That is the worst part. He sees the reflex and smiles slightly, because we both know I will answer. Whatever he takes from me, I will protect the rollout. "Send Celia the chart," he says. "Daniel as program director, you as operational transition lead, route supervisors and analysts under him. And decision authority? Daniel will coordinate. That's not authority. Then you should have no trouble supporting him." He walks back into the conference room. I stand under the bright photograph of Fairview and take out my phone. The message is from Colleen Avery, our senior route supervisor. "Fairview just changed Monday's delivery window to 5:15. Did anyone tell sales?" I type. "Ask who approved the change and get it in writing." 3 dots appear. "You're in the room with the people who approved it." I look through the narrow glass panel in the conference room door. Grant is laughing with Celia's vice president of finance. Daniel is holding my green marker. I open the door. He turns it over in his fingers. I was wondering what this was. A China marker. I gathered that from the label. Then the mystery is solved. He offers it to me. Daniel's smile is softer than Grant's and usually more effective. He is 38, maybe 39, with a calm voice and a collection of pale blue shirts that never seem to wrinkle. People confess delays to him because he makes confession feel like collaboration. "I didn't know Grant was announcing it that way," he says. I take the marker. "How did you think he was announcing it?" "He told me you were on board with a revised structure. Did I seem on board?" "You seemed professional. That's not the same thing." His mouth tightens, then relaxes. "Fair. That surprises me enough to keep me there." He lowers his voice. "This doesn't have to become ugly. You know the operation. I know how Grant thinks. There's room for both of us." "Doing what?" "You own field execution. I own program management. Who approves a launch? We work that out together. And when we disagree, we work it out." It is an elegant answer because it contains nothing that can be used later. I put the marker in the front pocket of my laptop bag. Fairview's delivery window just moved 45 minutes. Daniel reaches for his phone. "Since when?" "Long enough for Colleen to know." He checks his messages, frowning. "Grant approved it yesterday. Celia's team wanted more time to clear the South Corridor. The South Corridor is soil return. We're using the East Dock." "I know. Do you?" His eyes lift. I regret the question as soon as it leaves my mouth. Daniel does know the basics. He sat through the dock flow review, and he remembers more than I like admitting. Treating him like an idiot will only make it easier to treat me like a territorial employee protecting her little kingdom. He turns his phone so I can see Grant's message from the previous afternoon. 5:15 confirmed. "Mara can adjust route sequence." "Mara was not copied," I say. "No. The second truck reaches Lakeview at 6:10. If we hold it 45 minutes at Fairview, Lakeview misses its receiving crew. Can we split the load? Not without breaking the sealed cart sequence. Can the first truck take Fairview? It doesn't have a lift gate." He glances through the glass at Grant. There it is, the first small crack in his beautiful structure. A decision made above him, a consequence handed down to me. What do you recommend? He asks. I could fix it. The answer is already lining itself up in my mind. Swap tractors, move the tagged carts before final wrap, call Lakeview, get dispatch to reissue manifests. It would take 6 people, 2 hours, and a favor from a warehouse lead whose wife has dinner reservations tonight. What did Grant recommend? I ask. Daniel looks back at me. He said you could adjust it. Then he must know how. Mara, put the question in an email. Include Grant. I'll answer with the options and costs. His expression changes by a degree. Do you need every conversation documented now? I need Monday documented. Celia returns to the room carrying a paper plate with half a turkey sandwich. She looks from Daniel to me. Are we still launching Fairview at 4:30? Daniel opens his mouth. I wait. He sees me waiting. The delivery window was changed yesterday, he says. We're reviewing the route impact. Celia sets down her plate. Changed by whom? Grant approved a request from your facilities office. My facilities office doesn't set linen delivery windows. Grant is still across the room. He has heard his name. His gaze finds us. Celia takes one step toward Daniel. Monday is our first live exchange. Which time will the truck arrive? We'll confirm that this afternoon, he says. She turns to me. I keep my hands at my sides. There are 2 workable options. Both require changes at our plant. Daniel is sending the request through the new structure. The silence lasts perhaps a second. It feels long enough to sterilize instruments. Good, Celia says. I'll expect the answer by 3. She walks away with her sandwich. Daniel waits until she is out of earshot. You enjoyed that? No, he studies me. What I enjoyed was not saving him. The distinction is ugly enough that I don't say it aloud. At 1:15, Grant emails the revised organization chart to the customer. My name appears in a yellow box beneath Daniel's. Colleen, my 2 implementation analysts, the warehouse launch coordinator, and the route planning specialist all sit under his blue box. At 1:17, Daniel sends the delivery window question. At 1:22, I reply with 2 options. The first preserves Fairview's sequence, but requires a tractor swap and 4 hours of warehouse labor. The second moves the delivery to 5:15 and requires Lakeview to approve a later arrival. I list the cost, operational risk, and approval owner for each. Grant chooses the second option in 11 words. Make Lakeview accommodate. We need to be flexible during rollout. Lakeview's receiving manager, Ruth Sato, responds 3 minutes later. Our dock crew leaves at 6:30 per signed schedule. Who is covering overtime? Grant does not answer. Daniel calls me from 6 feet away. His name lights up on my phone while he sits at the conference table staring at me. I answer. Hi, Daniel. Are you serious? You called me. He lowers the phone. Can we talk like human beings? We were asked to keep working through lunch. He gets up and walks over. What does Ruth's overtime cost? $186 if the truck arrives by 6:40. More if it misses the first unload slot. That's it? That's the payroll cost. If we miss the slot, the driver hits his hour limit before the return to Westbridge. Then we need a relief driver. How much? On Monday? Assuming we find one? About $900. He stares at me. For a 45-minute change? That's why we make route maps. His phone rings. Grant. Daniel lets it ring twice before answering. Yes. I hear Grant's voice without making out the words. Daniel walks toward the windows. I understand, but there's a downstream driver hours issue. He listens. Because the route was built around the original window. Another pause. I'll handle it. He ends the call and stands with his back to the room. Then he turns. Grant says Westbridge absorbs the overtime. Which overtime? Daniel presses his tongue against the inside of his cheek. I open my laptop again. I'll need the approval in writing. By 3, we have a revised route, written customer approval, and a cost code carrying Grant's initials. Celia receives her answer. Fairview will get its truck at 5:15. Lakeview will keep 2 dock employees until 7. A relief driver is reserved. The problem is solved. Grant passes me on his way out and says, "This is exactly the bureaucratic drag we're trying to eliminate." That evening, I return to Westbridge's main plant to check the Fairview carts. The building changes personality after dark. The sales offices go black while the plant keeps breathing. Fans humming, washers turning, forklifts beeping through clouds of warm cotton dust. Clean linen comes overhead in blue slings, dropping into finishing stations with a soft, heavy rush. Colleen is waiting at the east staging lane with a clipboard tucked under one arm. She is broad-shouldered, gray-haired, and wears reading glasses attached to a neon orange cord. She has spent 26 years making difficult routes look uneventful. "So," she says, "do I salute Daniel now, or does he prefer a small curtsy? Try both. See which one appears on your performance review." She snorts and hands me the clipboard. The Fairview cart count is short by 12 fitted sheets. I pull the green marker from my bag and circle the number. "RFID count?" I ask. "Same. Reserve stock?" Daniel reassigned it to the southern launch. I look at her. Colleen points to a fresh label on the nearest wrapped cart. Printed beneath the barcode are the words, "Program Authorization D Price." "When did this happen?" "About an hour after your meeting." My phone vibrates. A message from Grant fills the screen. "Need you to ensure Fairview launch remains green. Daniel owns the program, but continuity is your responsibility." Colleen reads my face. "Bad?" I hand her the phone. She reads the message twice, then gives it back. "So, he gets the steering wheel," she says, "and you get blamed for wherever the car lands." Across the lane, a blue sling opens. 100 clean sheets fall through the warm air. I look down at the circled shortage on the cart sheet. 12 fitted sheets, small enough to fix before Monday, small enough to disappear. For the first time in 15 years, I leave the green circle exactly where it is. Colleen waits for me to tell her where to find 12 fitted sheets. Instead, I photograph the cart sheet and send it to Daniel with Grant copied. Fairview is 12 fitted sheets below validated par. Reserve stock was reassigned under program authorization. Please advise whether to restore inventory, reduce site par, or request customer approval for a launch exception. Colleen watches me hit send. "That felt unnatural, didn't it?" she asks. "Like wearing somebody else's shoes." "Cheap ones?" Pointed. We finish checking the other carts. At 9:20, Daniel replies that he will restore the inventory. At 9:40, the plant manager calls Colleen and asks why she has escalated a count discrepancy to corporate leadership. Colleen puts him on speaker. "I didn't," she says. "Well, Mara did." "Mara isn't corporate leadership." I look at her. She shrugs. "I'm trying to help." The plant manager sighs. "Daniel wants us to break wrap on the southern carts. Then his authorization should be on the adjustment," I say. "You need a signature to move 12 sheets?" We needed Daniel's name to take them. A long silence. "I'll print the form," he says. At 4:30 Monday morning, Daniel is already at Fairview. I find him on the east dock wearing a reflective vest over one of his pale blue shirts. The shirt is wrinkled. There's lint in his hair, and he is pushing a linen cart with both hands while Colleen guides the truck into position. "Brake sticks," he says when he sees me. "Push the red lever down, then pull it toward you." I did. The other red lever. The brake releases. Daniel looks at the cart as if it has betrayed him personally. That is bad design. That is a 20-year-old cart. He moves it into the staging box. The 12 fitted sheets are present, sealed inside the correct cart, with Daniel's signed adjustment clipped to the manifest. I check the RFID handheld. Every tag scans. "You came in early," I say. "I came in at 11 last night." "Why?" "Southern Launch Reserve was already loaded. The plant couldn't locate another lot with matching tags." "How did you solve it?" "I found an unassigned rehab order, got quality to release it, and had the tags recoded." That is the right answer. It is also 4 times more work than if he had asked before moving the reserve. "You could have called me," I say. His laugh has no humor in it. "Would you have answered?" "Yes." "Would you have helped?" "If I had decision authority." He looks at me for a moment, then pulls a folded piece of paper from his vest pocket. It is the adjustment form. His signature slants hard enough to dent the page. "I have quality authority now," he says. "For this adjustment?" "For launch inventory." Grant approved that? "He did at 2:17 this morning." There is satisfaction in his voice, but exhaustion too. Daniel has taken the first boundary I set and converted it into more authority for himself. Colleen walks past with the empty pallet jack. "You two want a candle? Or can I get through?" Daniel steps aside. At 5:20, Fairview's receiving staff signs the clean linen manifest. At 5:38, the last cart reaches its assigned alcove. The fitted sheets fit the mattresses, the scan counts match, and the emergency cabinet has the exact sealed stock specified in my checklist. Celia arrives at 6, wearing dark slacks, low boots, and an expression that suggests she has been awake long enough to reject several excuses. "How late was the truck?" she asks. 3 minutes, Daniel says. "And Lakeview?" I check the dispatch app. Estimated arrival 6:21. Good. She looks at the carts. "Who restored the fitted sheets?" "Daniel did," I say. His head turns slightly. Celia nods to him. "Then thank you." Daniel smiles, but not the polished version. This one looks relieved. When she moves on, he says, "You didn't have to do that. You did the work." "I thought you believed I stole your work." "I believe Grant gave you my team in the middle of my presentation." "That's not exactly the same thing." "No, it's just nearby." At 6:15, my analysts arrive to observe the first exchange. Nina Bell brings a tablet, 2 charging cables, and a paper cup of tea she will forget to drink. Jamal Reed arrives with the latest scan report already filtered by unit. They both stop when Daniel calls them over. "Starting today," he says, "send daily implementation summaries to me by 4. Mara should be copied on operational exceptions." Nina looks at me. Daniel continues, "I'm also standardizing the site readiness checklist. I need your current templates by noon." "They're in the rollout drive," I say. "I need the working versions." "Those are the working versions." "You don't keep separate notes?" "I keep site-walk notes." "Great, send those too." They include customer comments and unresolved pricing questions. I own the program, Mara. Celia's facilities director passes behind us close enough that the conversation flattens itself. "I'll send the operational sections," I say. Daniel's jaw moves once. By noon. Nina looks down at her tablet. Jamal becomes fascinated by a cartwheel. The first soil exchange begins at 7. A nursing unit manager scans a cart at the wrong doorway, triggering a location exception. Nina catches it before Daniel does and shows the manager how to clear the scan. Daniel thanks her in front of Celia. Nina brightens despite herself. That is how the new arrangement starts, not with open betrayal, but with small transfers of gravity. Daniel asks questions and remembers the answers. He gives Jamal a cleaner reporting template. He gets Nina a second monitor after I have been waiting 3 months for purchasing to approve one. He removes a Friday meeting everyone hates. Then he starts holding the replacement meeting at 7:30 Monday mornings, while I am usually at a launch site. I learn about the first one from the notes. I learn about the second when Nina asks whether I agree with Daniel's new definition of a launch exception. "What new definition?" Her face changes. "It was in the call. I was at Stonebridge. I thought he invited you. He sent me an optional invitation at 7:26. The definition appears in a document Daniel uploaded that morning. A shortage counts as an implementation failure only if Westbridge delivers less than 95% of the contracted textile category. 12 missing fitted sheets can be absorbed by excess pillowcases and still produce a green score. I walk into his office with the printed page. He has inherited a glass-walled room near Grant's, though inherited is too gentle a word for something facilities emptied in a single afternoon. On his whiteboard, he has drawn 3 columns: people, process, scale. I put the page on his desk. A facility can't put a pillowcase on a mattress. He leans back. I'm aware. Then why are we measuring total textile volume instead of required items? Because executives need one health indicator. Give them one indicator built from category compliance. That makes the dashboard noisy. Reality is noisy. So is defensiveness. I feel that one land. Is that what you think this is? I think you built a good rollout by personally holding every thread. Now any attempt to organize those threads feels like an attack. You changed a failure definition without customer approval. It's an internal metric. It will be shown to the customer, with supporting detail. On which page? His eyes sharpen. He turns his monitor toward me. The dashboard has a green summary at the top. Category detail begins on page 6. Page 6, I say. They can read. That's comforting. He folds his hands. What do you want, Mara? Category compliance on page 1. Site exceptions stay open until the correct item is delivered. And written authority if I'm still accountable for field execution. You sent me the authority request 3 times. I haven't received an answer. Because you're asking me to split accountability. Grant split it in Celia's conference room. He exhales through his nose. I'll change the metric. And the authority? I'll discuss it with Grant. He changes the metric that afternoon. The green score drops to amber at 4 sites. Grant calls Daniel into his office. Through the glass, I see Grant point at the screen, then at me. The next morning, the score is green again. The category detail remains, but the headline now reads, Rollout Stability, 97%. I save both versions. 2 weeks later, the southern launches begin. At Briar Glen, the loading crew discovers 4 carts tagged for the wrong wing. At Harbor Ridge, a soil return pickup is recorded as complete, even though the truck leaves 1 full cart behind a locked service gate. Each problem gets fixed before it affects the next delivery. Each one also disappears from the daily summary. Where are the exceptions? I ask Jamal. He swivels his monitor away from the aisle. Daniel says corrected before impact goes on the temporary resolution log. What temporary resolution log? Jamal clicks through a folder I cannot access. He realizes it at the same moment I do. I thought you had permissions. So did I. He rubs one hand over his mouth. It's just a working file. Who reviews it? Daniel. Sometimes Grant. Does Nina enter things there? We both do. How long? Jamal looks toward the glass offices. Since Fairview, I keep my voice low. Send me the access request, not the file. Mara, I'm not asking you to break his rules. I'm asking you to document that I can't see the log for the operations I'm responsible for. His chair creaks as he leans back. I can't afford to get put in the middle. You're already in the middle. That's easy for you to say. Grant won't fire you. Half the customer thinks you hung the moon. Grant can fire anyone. Then why are you poking him every day? Because he counted on me not to. Because every solved problem has become evidence that the problem never existed. Because I can feel my own work being turned into a story where I am both unnecessary and at fault. I'm trying to keep your name off a report you weren't allowed to verify, I say. Jamal stares at the dark access denied box on his screen. I'll send the request, he says. Grant summons me at 5:40 that evening. His office overlooks the clean finishing floor. Through the window behind his desk, blue linen slings drift along the overhead rail like heavy clouds. He closes the door. Sit. I'm fine standing. That posture you're taking, it isn't strength. What posture? The relentless documentation, the loaded emails, turning every operational decision into a deposition. I asked for access to an exception log. It's a temporary working tool. For exceptions on my launches, Daniel's launches. There it is, cleanly spoken. I sit. Grant places my performance scorecard on the desk. Most of it is strong. Customer confidence exceeds target. Launch accuracy exceeds target. Under leadership adaptability, he has entered needs development. Your bonus weighting changes this year, he says. 40% is leadership behavior. You changed the weighting after the year started. It was communicated in the management update. The update that went out last Thursday? He slides the scorecard toward me. I am giving you a chance to understand the stakes. I look through the glass at the plant floor. One of the slings opens. A white heap drops into a bin, and 2 employees begin sorting it by item. What would adaptability look like? I ask. Stop forcing Daniel to earn permission for responsibilities he already has. And my responsibilities? Support the transition. Coach your team. Protect the customer relationship. Without access to the working exception log. His expression hardens. You're mistaking visibility for control, and you're mistaking silence for support. The overhead rail rattles. Grant's eyes flick toward it, then back to me. You have built a career here, he says more quietly. A good one. I have defended your methods to people who see an operations manager without a degree taking 5 months to design a rollout that should take 6 weeks. Do not make me regret that. The sentence finds the soft place because he knows exactly where it is. I stand and leave the unsigned scorecard on his desk. Nina is waiting beside my cubicle with her coat on. She watches Grant's door close behind me. You okay? Do you need something? She hesitates, then hands me 3 doc sheets. Green circles mark discrepancies in cart counts at Briar Glen, Harbor Ridge, and Stonebridge. Beneath each circle, someone has written transferred to temp log. The numbers in Daniel's dashboard don't match these, she says. I thought I was entering them wrong. You weren't. He told us the customer was overusing inventory. Did the customer approve higher par? No. Then keep the originals where they belong. Nina glances around. Are we in trouble? Before I can answer, every implementation manager's phone chimes at once. A calendar invitation from Daniel fills my screen. 3-site accelerated launch week. Beneath the dates is a note from Grant. Successful execution will validate Westbridge's national rollout model. Nina reads it over my shoulder. 3 launches in 5 days? I open the attached schedule. The same reserve inventory is assigned to 2 sites. Colleen is listed on overlapping routes. Final linen validation has been cut from 10 business days to 3. At the bottom, my name appears beside a single line. Operational continuity and exception resolution. Nina looks at me. Can we do it? I take the green marker from my bag and circle the first impossible date. Not this way, I say. Daniel calls the accelerated launch meeting for 7 the next morning. Every chair is occupied by 6:55. Colleen leans against the back wall with her orange glasses cord glowing against her navy work shirt. Nina sits beside Jamal, both of them staring at copies of the schedule as if repeated exposure might improve it. Daniel stands at the whiteboard. Ashford goes live Tuesday, Meridian on Thursday, Northgate on Friday. We'll use a shared reserve pool and move validated inventory as demand stabilizes. Validated for which site? I ask. Validated by item category. The RFID tags are site-coded. They can be recoded. After quality releases them. We're adding a quality technician to second shift. Who? Daniel caps his marker. I'm finalizing that. Colleen raises one hand. Am I being cloned before Tuesday? Or should I plan on driving between Ashford and Meridian at 86 miles an hour? A few people laugh. Daniel doesn't. We'll adjust route coverage, because I'm listed on both. I see that. Glad we came together on it. Grant sits at the far end of the table, checking email. These are solvable details. I turn my copy around so Daniel can see the green circles. Northgate hasn't completed final linen validation. Ashford and Meridian are both drawing from the same fitted sheet reserve. Colleen's route overlap is 7 hours. Those aren't details. Grant puts down his phone. Mara, we understand you would prefer the original timeline. This isn't about preference. It is always about preference when experienced people are asked to change. Daniel steps in before I answer. Let's separate launch blocking issues from items we can mitigate. I already did. I slide a 1-page readiness summary across the table. Ashford can launch if the reserve assignment is corrected today. Meridian needs the second shift quality technician confirmed by noon tomorrow. Northgate has not completed cart par validation, dock flow validation, or its emergency exchange test. Grant doesn't touch the page. Northgate's facilities director signed readiness. The facilities director signed construction readiness. Linen readiness is a different form. He represents the customer. He also thinks a par level is the golf score for a loading dock. Colleen coughs into her fist. Nina looks down quickly. Grant's mouth thins. Are you refusing to support the launches? I'll support any launch that completes validation. And the ones that don't? I'll document what's incomplete and provide corrective options. Daniel looks at me, then at the readiness summary. Send this to me electronically. You have it. It went out last night. With Grant copied? Yes. Grant picks up his phone again. Good, then everyone is informed. The meeting ends with the dates unchanged. Ashford takes 16 hours of adjustments and launches on time. Daniel finds reserve sheets at another plant. Quality recodes the tags, and Colleen rebuilds the route sequence on a legal pad while eating pretzels from the vending machine. At 4 Tuesday morning, Daniel hands her a printed route. She compares it to the legal pad. This is my route. I formatted it. You moved my coffee stop. It added 11 minutes. It preserved morale. He studies her face, unsure whether she is joking. Colleen folds the printout into quarters. I'll follow the science. Ashford's first exchange goes clean. Celia's regional director signs the count without an exception. Daniel sends a launch summary before 8, crediting the cross-functional implementation team. My name appears in the distribution list. At Meridian, the quality technician Grant promised never arrives. Daniel puts on a hairnet and spends 5 hours beside the tagging station, reading cart numbers while Nina recodes them. He is quick. He catches 2 duplicate tags before they reach wrap. At midnight, I bring coffee from the gas station across the road. Daniel accepts a cup without looking at me. 2 creams, I say. He takes a sip. This has sugar. You strike me as someone who needs adversity. Nina laughs from the tagging station. Daniel almost smiles. Then his phone buzzes, and the moment closes. Meridian launches 7 minutes late, with every required item. Celia marks the delay in her notebook, thanks the dock crew, and asks why the quality technician was not present. Scheduling conflict? Grant says. Whose? We're reviewing that internally. Daniel stares at the clean carts. Northgate's final count begins Thursday afternoon. The first 2 wings show shortages. The third has 38 more bath blankets than the agreed par and 14 fewer fitted sheets. The emergency exchange cabinet has towels but no gowns. I photograph each cart sheet and circle the discrepancies in green. Daniel meets me in the staging lane. Can we rebalance from Ashford? Not until Ashford completes its 72-hour utilization count. They're running below forecast. Based on 2 exchanges, based on live scan data, which doesn't include unscanned emergency stock. He looks at the carts. What would it take to launch? Delay until Monday, validate actual inventory tomorrow, correct the cart mix over the weekend. Grant won't move the date. You asked what it would take. Northgate has 6 admissions scheduled for the renovated wing Friday afternoon. Then they need fitted sheets. He rubs the back of his neck. His blue shirt has a dark line of sweat between the shoulders. Put the shortage in the temporary log, he says. We'll correct it on the first exchange. The temporary log doesn't go to the customer. I'll tell their facilities director. The unit operations manager signs linen readiness. He isn't available. He's in his office. Daniel's eyes harden. You've made your position clear. Have I? Because my name is still on exception resolution? I am authorizing the launch. Put that on the readiness form. You document everything else. Document this. I need your signature. He gives a short laugh. Of course you do. He signs. I attach the sheet to my readiness report and send it to Daniel, Grant, the plant manager, and Northgate's operations manager. Then I leave at 6, while the staging crew begins wrapping the incomplete carts. My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly they ache. I could go back. I could call Colleen, pull stock from the unassigned order, and make Northgate look whole. I know which warehouse lead will answer after hours. I know which quality supervisor keeps blank recoding labels locked in the bottom drawer. The wanting feels physical, like an itch under a cast. Instead, I drive home. Northgate calls at 11:06 Friday morning. The first exchange has stripped the renovated wing's fitted sheet supply. 2 carts contain bath blankets in slots labeled for sheets. The customer has opened one emergency pack and found towels. Daniel is already on site. I can hear dock noise behind his voice. "We need an emergency truck," he says. "Has Northgate approved the exchange request?" "Yes." "Send it to dispatch and copy me. I need you to arrange it. You own program authorization." "Mara, this is not the moment." "It became the moment when you signed the readiness form." His breathing changes. "There are admissions arriving." "I know. Send the approval. I'll coordinate the correction." The email arrives 40 seconds later. I call dispatch, reserve a relief driver, locate fitted sheets at the main plant, and get quality to release a temporary tag sequence. Colleen builds the emergency route. Nina sends Northgate a manual cart list so the receiving team can verify every item before the truck leaves. The truck reaches Northgate at 1:40. The renovated wing delays admissions until 3:20. Westbridge pays for the emergency route, overtime, and rush processing. By 5, the inventory is correct. At 5:03, Grant sends a meeting invitation titled Northgate Performance Review. The meeting lasts 19 minutes. Grant sits at the head of the table. Daniel is on his right. I am on his left. A printed timeline lies between us, beginning with Northgate's call at 11:06. "Why wasn't this risk resolved before launch?" Grant asks. I slide my readiness report beside the timeline. "It was identified yesterday at 3:40. I asked why it wasn't resolved. Daniel authorized launch with the shortage open. Daniel looks at the report but says nothing. Grant taps the final line where the emergency truck arrived. "You had the knowledge and contacts to prevent this. I recommended delaying until Monday. You knew that recommendation was declined." "Yes, and then you left." The word settles over the table. "I completed the validation report and documented the open risks. That is not ownership." "What authority did I have to stop the launch?" Grant turns to Daniel. "Did Mara have authority to correct inventory?" Daniel's face is still. "She had operational continuity responsibility," he says. It is a careful answer, cowardly but careful. "I requested written authority 4 times, I say. Grant closes the folder. "Customers do not care about our internal lines. This customer required a change control review when you moved those lines." His eyes flash. "Your inability to move past that meeting is becoming a serious concern." Daniel looks at me then. For 1 second, something like apology crosses his face. Grant continues. "Your annual bonus is suspended pending leadership review. I feel the amount before I think it. The roof repair I postponed. The 6 months of expenses I wanted back in savings after a year of carrying too much on credit. The quiet private proof that 15 years of work had added up to more than survival." "When was that decision made?" I ask. "Today." "Before or after this meeting?" Your response tells me you still don't understand the issue. I push my chair back carefully. Send me the review in writing. Colleen's reassignment arrives Monday morning. She is moved from implementation routes to the Western Rural rotation, with a start time of 2:30 and no customer site differential. The notice calls it a capacity adjustment. She drops the paper on my desk. "I always wanted to see more cornfields in the dark." "I'm sorry. Don't do that." "He's punishing you for Northgate. He's punishing me because I signed the original cart count." She taps the notice. "Different thing. I'll challenge it." "And get me sent to another state?" She sits on the edge of my desk. "Use it. Don't waste it." Nina hears us. By lunch, she is crying silently in the restroom. By Wednesday, she asked me to meet her in the parking lot. "I accepted another job," she says. The wind pushes strands of hair across her mouth. She keeps tucking them back. "Where?" "A medical supply distributor. Reporting analyst. That's good work. It's less money." I wait. "I can't keep entering numbers that disappear," she says. "And I can't be the person who gives them to you. You did nothing wrong. That doesn't make this feel better." Her last day is in 2 weeks. At my desk, I open the temporary log access request Jamal sent. It remains pending. Beneath it, I create a folder using the customer's original rollout structure: doc sheets, RFID scan gaps, cart wait tickets, readiness forms, emails, customer acknowledgments. I save Northgate's signed authorization first, then I call Ruth Sato at Lakeview. I need a favor, I say. Keep sending your daily linen counts through the approved rollout channel. We already do. I know. Keep the original attachments. There is a pause. Mara, she says, what are you expecting to happen? Through the glass, Grant enters Daniel's office and closes the door. I'm expecting the numbers to need their memory, I say. 2 days before the quarterly customer review, Grant sends me Daniel's dashboard. Correct all operational inaccuracies before presentation. Final version must reflect rollout stability. The summary is green. Northgate appears as an on-time launch with a corrected utilization variance. Colleen's emergency route is listed as planned support. The delayed admissions do not appear. I print the dashboard and carry it into Daniel's office. He is sitting in the dark except for his monitor. Grant wants me to correct this, I say. Daniel opens a scheduling file on his screen. I know. 3 accelerated launches fill the calendar. Beside each date is an approval field. Grant's name appears in all 3. Daniel turns the monitor toward me. He approved the compression before quality confirmed capacity, he says, before he asked me whether we could do it. Why are you showing me this? Daniel looks through the glass toward Grant's empty office. Because the version he sent the owners says I recommended it, he says, and the version he sent HR says you executed it. What did you send him? I ask. Daniel keeps his hand on the mouse. The capacity plan I built after he approved the dates. And the file on your screen? The original schedule from Grant's shared folder. It shows when he entered the dates and when quality declined capacity. Does he know you have it? I'm the program director. I'm supposed to have it. That wasn't my question. He leans back. In the blue light from the monitor, he looks older than he did when Grant put my team under him. He knows I can access it, he says. He assumes I won't make an issue of the differences. Will you? Daniel looks at the printed dashboard in my hand. What are you going to do? Correct the operational inaccuracies. All of them? He was very clear. A laugh slips out of him. It sounds tired and surprised. You know he means make it green. I know what he wrote. If you attach Northgate, he'll say you're using the customer review to continue a personal dispute. Then Northgate's operations manager can explain why the renovated wing delayed admissions. And if he says I pushed the accelerated dates, what will you say? He turns back to the monitor. For several seconds, the only sound is the building ventilation and the distant clank of a cart rolling over the plant floor threshold. I wanted the dates, he says. I told him 3 launches would prove the model could scale. He approved them before I finished the capacity review. When I told him Northgate wasn't ready, he said we were too committed to move it. That is more truth than I expected and less innocence than he wants. You signed the readiness form, I say. I know. You put corrected problems on a log the customer couldn't see. I know. You let him blame me in that room. His face tightens. I thought he was documenting a coaching issue. I didn't know he had already sent the owners a different sequence. You knew what he was doing to me. Yes. The word has weight because he doesn't decorate it. I set the dashboard on his desk. Send me the original file through the project record. Include Grant. State which schedule you created and which one he approved. That puts my name on the whole failure. Your name is already on it. He rubs both hands over his face. You enjoy saying that more than you should. I've had a difficult quarter. He looks at me through his fingers, then drops his hands. If I send it, will you tell Celia I opposed Northgate? Did you? Eventually. I'll tell her exactly when. That's brutal. It's accurate. He turns to the keyboard. The email arrives 9 minutes later. Daniel attaches both schedules, the quality capacity rejection, and his message advising Grant on Thursday morning that Northgate should move to Monday. Grant's approval predates that message by 6 days. Daniel copies HR and Westbridge's president, Elaine Mercer. Grant calls him before I finish reading. Through the glass wall, I watch Daniel answer. He listens for nearly a minute, says, "The record needed correction," and hangs up with his hand shaking. Then my phone rings. "Mara," Grant says, "come to my office." I'm correcting the dashboard. Now. His door is open when I arrive. He closes it behind me. "What have you been saying to Daniel?" I asked him which version of the schedule was accurate. "You are destabilizing this entire team. Northgate did that. You have spent weeks collecting minor discrepancies and turning them into a conspiracy. There are signed forms. There are always forms. There are always exceptions. Leadership means understanding which ones matter. Fitted sheets mattered to Northgate. You fixed it. After the wing ran out." He steps closer to his desk. "You could have fixed it before. You keep coming back to that. Because it exposes exactly what you did. You allowed a preventable service failure to make a point. I recommended delaying. Daniel rejected it. You backed him. I documented the shortage and coordinated the emergency correction when I received authority." His face flushes dark red along the cheekbones. "Do you hear yourself?" he asks. "You sound like a claims adjuster." "I sound like someone you plan to blame." His gaze flickers toward the glass wall. Daniel is visible at his desk. Grant lowers his voice. Daniel is frightened. "You are taking advantage of that." Daniel sent an accurate project record. He sent confidential internal material to a group that did not need it. The company president didn't need the schedule you told her I executed? Careful. The word comes out almost gently. For years, careful was how I survived Grant. Careful meant fixing the route before sales knew it was broken. Careful meant giving him the answer in private so he could sound prepared in public. Careful meant letting him describe my work as instinct because process would have required credit. I take the green marker from my pocket and set it on his desk. "I have been careful," I say. "That's why the records match." I leave it there and walk out. The corrected dashboard takes me 4 hours. I change rollout stability from 97% to 88%. I restore category-level shortages, the 3 accelerated launch capacity warnings, the emergency route, and Northgate's delay. Every correction links to a source. Doc sheet, scan record, cart weight ticket, readiness form, customer acknowledgement, or approval email. I attach the temporary log access request showing I was denied visibility. Then I send the corrected version to Grant, Daniel, Elaine Mercer, and the customer review team. Grant replies with 2 words, "Not approved." Celia arrives the next morning carrying the same narrow notebook she closed during my presentation. Grant has restored the green version on the conference room screen. Daniel sits at the table with both schedules in front of him. Elaine joins by video from Westbridge's northern office. Grant introduces her as an executive sponsor, then begins talking about rollout stability, accelerated learning, and customer adoption. I sit near the end of the table beside Ruth Sato. Ruth slides a thin folder toward me. "Original attachments," she whispers. Inside are daily linen counts from Lakeview and 5 other sites. Green circles appear beside unresolved shortages. The marks are Ruth's, not mine, but for one strange second they feel like handwriting passed between us. Grant reaches Northgate. "The launch experienced a short-lived utilization variance," he says. "Our team corrected it through planned support, and the site was fully stabilized within the same service day." Celia closes her notebook. The sound is soft. Grant stops anyway. "What was the planned support?" she asks. "An auxiliary delivery. Requested at what time?" Grant glances toward the slide. "Daniel?" Daniel looks down at the Northgate record. 11:06. "And when did Mara identify the fitted sheet shortage?" Daniel looks at me. "Thursday at 3:40, I say. Celia turns to Grant. How is a truck requested after 11 on Friday planned support for a shortage identified Thursday afternoon? The initial count did not reflect likely utilization. Ruth opens her folder. Our operations manager confirmed the shortage Thursday. Grant's smile returns, thinner now. We had conflicting field data. No, Celia says, you had matching field data and a dashboard that disagreed with it. Elaine's face on the screen remains still. Grant clicks to the next slide. We can spend the entire review relitigating one corrected exception, or we can discuss the success of 32 site implementation. 26 sites, Celia says. 6 remain, and we are well positioned to complete them. Under whose implementation plan? Daniel has developed a scalable model with Mara's operational support. Celia opens her notebook again and removes a printed copy of the corrected dashboard. Mine. She sets it in front of Grant. I received 2 versions of your performance report, she says. One calls Northgate a utilization variance. One attaches a readiness form showing the correct sheets were never there. Which version are you asking me to certify? Grant looks at me. I can see the answer forming. Unauthorized distribution, personal grievance, resistant employee. Each piece has worked somewhere before. He chooses the customer. The corrected draft includes unreviewed working data, he says. Mara has struggled with the transition to a broader program structure. Celia's eyes move to the source column. Then help me understand something. She runs one finger down the dates. Why does every problem you call unexpected appear in Mara's records before it happened, with an owner, a proposed correction, and a declined action? Grant's mouth opens. Celia raises the same hand she raised when he reassigned my team. Let her answer. He stops. My pulse beats in my throat, but my hands are steady when I pull the records from my folder. I explain Ashford's shared reserve, Meridian's missing quality technician, and Northgate's incomplete validation. Ruth confirms the customer counts. The RFID gaps match the dock sheets. The cart wait tickets match the shortages. Daniel's original schedule shows Grant's approval before quality confirmed capacity. Celia asks Daniel whether he signed Northgate's readiness form. Yes, he says. Did Mara recommend delaying? Yes. Did Grant know? Yes. Grant leans forward. Daniel, be precise. Daniel meets his eyes. You told me the date was committed and Mara would resolve exceptions. The room goes quiet enough for the projector fan to return. Grant looks toward Elaine's square on the screen. This is exactly the fragmentation I warned about. Field operations, program management, and customer teams maintaining separate versions of events. Elaine speaks for the first time. Why was there a temporary exception log? Daniel answers. To separate corrected issues from launch-impacting failures. Who could access it? Program management and Grant. Could Mara? No. Elaine looks at Grant. Why was she assigned exception resolution without access to it? Grant's answer takes too long. Celia folds her hands over her notebook. Ward will pause the remaining 6 launches. We'll resume when Westbridge gives us one accountable implementation lead, a customer visible exception process, and written change control for staffing and schedule decisions. Grant begins. A pause creates unnecessary. It began this morning, Celia says. My facilities teams have been notified. There is no dramatic exit. The review continues for another 40 minutes because real consequences come with invoices, route commitments, and open inventory. We discuss emergency stock, outstanding credits, and the cost of revalidating the 6 remaining sites. Grant says very little. Afterward, he catches me in the hallway beneath the photograph of Fairview. You could have brought all of this to me privately. I did. You brought me demands. I brought you 4 authority requests, 3 readiness reports, an access request, and the correct dashboard. You knew what that meeting would do. I knew what Northgate did. His face looks different without a room to manage. Smaller, but not weak. Grant will survive this. He is too useful and too skilled at finding the next valuable problem. For once, Survival will not mean keeping everything he reached for. "You think Celia saved you," he says. I shake my head. She asked a question. The records answered it. Elaine places Grant on administrative review that afternoon. By the end of the week, he is removed from the ward account and the National Partnership Project. He keeps a strategy role with no implementation staff, while Westbridge reviews the reporting changes he approved. Daniel is removed as my supervisor. He returns to process management and spends 6 weeks rebuilding the exception system with customer visible categories and source attachments. He does not ask me to tell anyone he opposed Northgate. He puts the date of his objection in the record and leaves the earlier approvals beside it. Colleen's rural reassignment is reversed. She receives the site differential she lost, plus the overtime from the 2 routes she worked before Elaine intervened. Nina still leaves. On her last afternoon, she returns the second monitor Daniel got for her. "You can keep it until facilities collects it," I say. "I don't want anything here delaying my escape." She hugs me beside the elevators, quick and fierce. "I wish I'd stayed," she says. "I wish you hadn't needed to go." Both things remain true. Westbridge offers me the title of Director of Implementation Operations. The first version comes with a raise and language about shared accountability. I send it back. The second gives me written launch authority, direct access to exception reporting, and a reporting line to Elaine. My suspended bonus is restored. I ask for compensation adjustments for Jamal, Colleen, and the warehouse launch coordinators before I sign. Elaine approves most of them. "Most is an interesting word," I tell her. "You negotiate like Celia." Celia closes her notebook sooner. 3 months later, the final ward center is ready. At 4:30 in the morning, Colleen guides the truck toward the east dock. Jamal checks the scan report. The new analyst verifies cart weights against the signed count. Daniel's dashboard shows 1 open exception, a damaged wheel on a reserve cart, with the owner, replacement time, and customer acknowledgement visible on page 1. Celia stands beside the laminated rollout map. I pull a new green China marker from my vest pocket. The old one disappeared from Grant's desk, and I never asked where it went. I circle the last completed milestone. Celia watches me cap the marker. Is the rollout truly finished? I look at the clean dock, the signed cart count, and my team standing where their names appear on the plan. "This one is," I say.